It has always been a dream of mine to own a large collection of books and to have a large TBR of possibilities to pull from. But while I love having a lot of books, I currently don't want to add any more bookshelves into my home, which means that these stacks of books that I currently have on the floor are a problem. So I somehow need to get all of these books from the floor onto my shelves, which are currently at capacity, which is where this series comes in. Throughout 2024, I'm going to be stuffing these stacks onto my shelves through any means possible. For this month only, I will be using magical readathon prompts to select books that have to make their way to my shelves or my unhaul pile by the end of the vlog. The easiest way to start may be to read them, but if I then decide that I want to keep them, I will need to choose another book from my shelves to either read or unhaul. The episode will end when the original books chosen from the stacks and all subsequent ones pulled from shelves have made their way to either their new home on a shelf or into my unhaul pile. The stacks may change throughout the year as I organically read, unhaul and rearrange my shelves. The pool of books to choose from may change slightly as things get moved around my library, or the pile could shrink with a big unhaul, or even grow if I buy too many books, but the overall goal remains the same. By the end of 2024, the stacks have to go. In episode 2, we scrapped 3 books and managed to shelve 2. So I'm going to be starting episode 3 with 59 books. Hello everybody, welcome to episode 3 of Shelve It or Scrap It. I did a lot of rearranging in the month. I filmed a couple of my unhaul type videos, like my self-destructing books, which cleared up a lot of shelf space, which meant that I got a lot of books off these stacks onto my shelf. So we are starting with a significantly lower number than we ended episode 2 on, because we are going with, or starting with 59 books for episode 3. I am enjoying this project so much that I'm kind of sad to see the stacks dwindle, because as they dwindle, it's obviously like removing possibilities of books that I can read for this challenge. With that in mind, we are doing things a little bit differently this month, because I am participating in a little readathon that you might have heard of called the Magical Readathon. Now, if y'all are a regular viewer of my channel, I know you know all about Magical Readathon, but I also know that a lot of you guys are here purely for Shelve It or Scrap It, so I'm going to tell you about Magical Readathon because I think it deserves, it gets so much recognition and I think it deserves so much more. So it is a month-long readathon that happens twice a year, created by G over at Book Roast. It's a D&D like RPG style readathon where you create a character and you attend a magic school. You pick a career or a calling out of a full book of them, there's so many, and that will tell you the courses that you need to pass at your magic school Aurelium to graduate or like pass the year to achieve the calling. So this is currently, I think it's the 3rd full year of Aurelium. My career as usual is a demonologist, and because I love this readathon so much, I do participate in quite a few, but this one is my absolute favorite. But because I love this one so much, I go hard. And so instead of randomly generating the books using a number generator for this round of Shelve It or Scrap It, we are going to be using the magical readathon prompts to pick the books that I'm going to be reading. Now don't worry, the spirit of Shelve It or Scrap It is still the same. I do not know what I'm going to be reading because quite a few of the magical readathon prompts are using like various random number generators or something similar to select the book that fulfills the prompt. So those are the prompts that I'm going to be trying to fill throughout the course of this video. I will, of course, if this is the first time you've ever heard about magical readathon, I will leave G's announcement video down in my description box if you want to check it out, but also because you might be thinking as I'm talking that this sounds kind of complex, G has made like a beginner friendly introduction to Aurelium that tells you everything that you need to know to get stuck in and how like exactly you can do that. We're going to be starting off with one of the prompts that I need for my calling. I don't know if I mentioned I'm going for demonologist, which is the one that I always go for, and one of the subjects that I need is conjuration, and the course focus this year is binding prism, and the prompt is to use a color wheel to randomly generate a color, and then you have to read a book with a cover that matches that color. So you see how we're still on chaos mode here, even though we have a little bit more direction than we usually do. This could potentially make this episode a little bit more interesting as well, because I get to choose within the parameter, I get to choose the book that we pick, and I'm more naturally, I feel inclined to go towards books that I feel like I really, because you know I've said there's someone here that are like highly anticipated by me. I'm obviously more inclined to lean towards them, which means that I'm potentially gonna have to read more from the shelves because I'm potentially going to enjoy these books a lot, although I thought that I was going to love the Hurricane Wars, and we all know how that turned out. But anyway, I have a colour wheel. I have edited it slightly. If you get the pre-generated colour wheel, it has lots of different shades, which makes it like overly complicated, because like, I'm going to be real, I don't think I own a book with a lime green cover. But I also added beige, grey, black and white, because they are common colours of books that aren't technically, like, they're more shades than colours. I'm nervous. Let's see what colour we're gonna get. Oh, blue. Okay, I feel like this is one of the options, one of the colours that I'm gonna have the most options for. So I'm gonna move out of the way, I'm gonna put my glasses on and we're gonna see what we can find. So my mind is already whirring with options. I would say that this one's more teal. So we have this one, Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. This one, oh my god, there's so many. Luna Love by Lauren Kung Jessen. Oh, that's more orange. This one, City of Stardust, is kind of blue. It has some purple in there as well, but I would say it's more blue. Seven Devils is between like a blue and a purple, I feel. Violet Made of Thorns, I don't even know how far down you guys can see. Violet Made of Thorns down here is like a bluey purple. Oh, there's so many. In the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim is very blue. Forget Me Not by Julie Soto. Oh, and then this one is obviously like super navy. That one's Twin Crowns by Catherine Weber. I forgot how this actually isn't a good idea, because now I have to make a decision. I'm actually leaning towards contemporary romance. I feel like it's been a while. So that means that my options are pretty much these three. Okay, so I have made my decision. I've read the synopsis of all three of these. This one does sound really appealing to me. I prefer the vibe of the US cover than the UK one, which is why I'm a little bit more excited for this one. This one is a second chance romance, I believe. This one seems kind of wholesome. It's about an older woman who like has a date that goes really well with this guy who's 10 years younger than her, so it's a bit of an age gap romance, and them trying to find some sort of middle ground to make their relationship work. But the one that I'm gonna go with is Luna Love by Lauren Kung Jessen. Now, I know that this one was pretty hyped, and I know that this one and all Abby Jimenez books are pretty highly regarded and rated, and of the three, this is the one that I actually know the least about, but I've made my judgment solely off the synopsis. And this one is about a woman who is trying to take her grandmother's like Chinese zodiac based dating agency into the online world. So I think she hires this guy to create an app, and instead of making it about the Chinese zodiac, he makes it based on like animal attraction, which is not in the spirit of this dating agency at all. So I think that the two make or like challenge each other to find a date for the other one, and whoever loses, whoever falls in love loses. But obviously it's going to be a romance between the two of them. The reason I selected this one is that it seems like a rivals to lovers or like a hate to love kind of story. And if you all know, my favorite romances is like The Hating Game is my #1 favorite, then The Love Hypothesis. And in those we have people who are butting heads constantly but are secretly into each other. And that's very much the vibe that I'm hoping that I get from this. So I'm gonna go and take Brie out for a walk. I'm gonna get my workout in. It's bank holiday, so I'm not currently working. And then am I gonna tidy up or am I gonna start my book? That is the question, and honestly only time will tell. I know that I'm playing like I'm having a Baldur's Gate evening with Curtis tonight, so I don't think I'll be reading very much later, so I'm leaning towards reading, but I also could do with having a little bit of a clean. So today is a very exciting day because it is time for my 500th Peloton ride. A little bit inconvenient that it's happening today because the only ride that I wanted to do today that was actually live is now at like 11 AM and I actually have a lot to do in terms of editing, but it's fine if I have to. I'll just finish everything up that I need to this evening. But can you believe I'm on 500 rides? Can you also believe that I only hit 450 in January? It was like a couple of weeks, wasn't it, after I got my bike? This is also coming up to my 3-year Peloton anniversary, which I think is like right in the middle of April. So in less than 3 years, I've done 500 rides, not to mention like also the 350 strength that I've done, and yoga, stretching. I run now as well. You could say this should be an ad for Peloton. It's not. It's not an ad for Peloton. Peloton, if you're watching this and you want to sponsor me, 100% willing to accept that sponsorship. But it's actually 10:35 right now. So I'm on 498 which means that I need to do a ride before my live ride at 11. So I'm gonna do a 15-minute Machine Gun Kelly ride with Camila, and then I should have like about 5 minutes before the ride with Ali starts, which is currently on my screen actually. It is a 45-minute intervals and arms. I actually did, if y'all remember, in December, I did my only like Peloton Studios ride that I've ever done in person with Ali, which was so cool. So hopefully this is the one where I get my shout out. I did my 350th strength with Rad last week and sadly still have not had a shout out. I'm wondering if it's my name, you know, because they don't say names that are like rude, and my name isn't rude, it's my Instagram one, it's xxbeccabumxx, but I'm like, does that look rude? If you don't know it's rude, it has bum in it. Like, bum's not an annoying word. Anyway, I need to get on with this ride so that I'm not late for my live one. But thank you for coming to my TED Talk. I'm feeling very proud of myself and very accomplished. And I honestly just cannot believe that I'm already on ride number 500.
3, 2, 1, come on. Overhead press narrow, and then you have that crossbody pull and press on one side, on the opposite side. 3, 2, 1. Rack the weights. Punch it up, bring it down slowly. Punch it up, bring it down slowly. Good. Body, pull, lift the palm forward, press overhead. You're here for just under 40 seconds. 2, 3, in North Hills, 500. Chuckles, pivot, Steve Clinton, Becca Bum, Sophia Austin, Sunrise Spinner B, raising 3 humans. Happy 500s, y'all.
So I do have a reading update for you guys, but I am about to film my fantasy bingo TBR, and one of the books that I need for that video has literally just arrived. So I want to show you guys what it is. It's actually really weird because this is a horror, and I was texting Aaron asking her some questions about some of the books, like whether they'd fit for the prompts. And as I said, like, would this book work for this prompt? The doorbell rang and it arrived. So I'm freaked out, but I ordered this from Sci-Fi, and by the way, if you don't know, I do have an affiliate code for Sci-Fi now. I believe that you get 5% off your order and I get 5% commission at like no additional cost to you. And they do like sci-fi, horror, fantasy books, obviously, but I think that they have like a flat fee. Well, they do, because I ordered. They charge a flat fee for shipping, no matter how much that you order, and I think that they also deliver to the majority of like places around the world as well. Kind of like a good alternative to Book Depository, I feel like. But the book in question, this is a US copy as well, so they do international editions, but I got Knock Knock Open Wide by Neil Sharpson. I am going to be reading this month because it is Jordaline from Jordaline Reads Patreon book club book for the month, and she has very kindly invited me to co-host, and I'm so excited because I've been wanting to read more horror. I really like horror, I really like thrillers. I find that I'm so much more excited to read them because I read them so rarely, so I'm really excited to get to the opportunity to read this. I've heard that the majority of people who've read it really enjoy it. I do believe it's a little bit weird though, which is my worry, because y'all know I don't like ambiguity. Would recommend as well, if you're looking for a horror girly, Jordaline is definitely your girl. I will link her channel down in my description box, and I love her personality as well. She's great. But this one is an adult horror book about a woman who finds a dead body along the side of the road in the English countryside, and she takes it to a remote location and then like never speaks of that night again. In a present timeline, so that's the past, in a present timeline, we are following a girl who is at university, I think in Dublin, and she falls in love with this girl who she doesn't want to meet her mother, because her mother is the woman that brought the dead body to the remote location, and she has some suspicions that some of the weird stuff or the horrible stuff that's happened in her family in her childhood is to do with a children's TV show that a lot of children in Ireland watch, and it has like a creepy goat puppet. If that sounds weird to you, it's not me doing a terrible job at the description, it's a weird description. I'm real excited to kind of like see what's going on here. I feel like the attachment to the children's TV show is going to be like a childhood trauma, like latch onto something thing, but I have no idea where the dead body comes into it and like what the deal is with that. So hopefully I'll get to read this. I mean, I'm definitely reading it this month, and I think I'm going to prioritize it because I'm so excited. But yeah, I was going to save that for my unboxing, which I'm going to be filming at the end of this week, but I need it for that video. And I know I could have just put it in editing. Editing me tomorrow would have hated me. So I decided to do it now. But in terms of what I'm reading, I can't swivel. I am indeed reading Lunar Love by Lauren Kung Jessen. I am 106 pages into it now. I'm hosting Patreon sprints tonight with Leanne, so I'm hoping that I'm gonna, if not finish it, which I'm hoping I can, get through at least a good like 100+ pages of it. I'm not loving it as much as I wanted to. I'm not really gelling with the writing style, but I was also for sure definitely confused about the synopsis of this one. This one is about a woman who is inheriting her family's dating agency, which is based on the Chinese zodiac, and she's at a bakery picking up some stuff for her grandmother's birthday when some guy like takes the last bun that she wants. So she kind of is chatting to him, flirting with him a little bit, and she barters the bun back, and then she goes to a convention for matchmakers and finds out that somebody has started a online dating app based on the Chinese zodiac. She finds out that it's this guy from the bakery, and she ends up trying to match with him on his app, to date him, to mine him for information on his business, because she's already struggling with an in-person matchmaking service in a modern world, and she feels like he's robbing her of her family's business, like stealing her family's business. So obviously it's going to be a romance between the two. The reason why I'm not really enjoying it very much is the writing style. I feel like the dialogue is super flat and lifeless, and I also feel like I'm almost being mansplained to about dating agencies. It'll be following this girl's day, and then it'll cut aside and be like, matchmaking takes me forever. We still have a paper database and I have to spend hours going through every client's information to match them. I know it takes a lot of time, but I really want to do a good job. I don't know, I feel like it's kind of dumbed down and over-explanatory, and I don't feel like there's any life in the dialogue or the characters. Like, I'm not sinking into this. It doesn't feel real. A good book for me, like an immersive book for me, is when I see it playing in my mind like a movie, and I'm kind of not necessarily unaware I'm reading a book. In the best cases, I'm unaware I'm reading a book, but generally like it will come to life in my mind, and it's just not really happening for me in this. I did think about DNFing, but I want to get to the bit where the romance actually kicks in, because like I said, I've been wanting to read a contemporary romance for a while, and at the minute it's getting like a little bit flirtatious, but we're not at that point. I think that if I start to see like very little chemistry within the romance when that does start to get going, I may have to put this down, but we'll see. I'll probably find out tonight anyway whether I'm going to put it down or continue on with it, because I do have sprints. Good morning, my friends. I have indeed just finished Lunar Love by Lauren Kung Jessen, and I wasn't a big fan. I ended up giving it 2 stars. Like I said earlier, like the dialogue fell really flat. I thought that the plot went in some pretty odd directions. It seemed a little bit forced in elements. The whole like real point of this is that the main character is stuck in like her traditional ways and obsessed with like the compatibility element of the Chinese zodiac, that she cannot look outside of that to make any matches, which is essentially hindering her business, while this guy is willing to use the Chinese zodiac as a base, but he's looking more outside just the compatibility of the Chinese zodiac. He's also looking at compatible traits, the fact that opposites attract, and they clash a little bit on that, except it's her that is the problem in this. Like, he is fine, he's a nice guy, he's open-minded, he does not begrudge the fact that her business also uses the same model or comes from the same origins as his, whereas she is actually nasty and tries to sabotage him. She is stubborn, she's mean, and he constantly is trying and trying and trying, and she is shooting him down all of the time, and I just couldn't get behind it because she is too mean and he is too nice, that I didn't really understand how we even came to a point of common ground. By the time we got to the end, I was like, dude, you need to walk away from this, because I know that you want this, but she's being horrible. Like, I would not be coming back for the 10,000th time after some of the stuff that like she said to him. While I really enjoyed the concept of this, execution wise, it truly was not my favorite. Like, it was fine. I gave it 2 stars, which essentially to me means I didn't love it, I didn't hate it, but it is like by no means one of the best romances that I've ever read. It's essentially just a book that I've read now. I probably should have DNF'd this, but at least I know like with 100% certainty that we are going to be scrapping this one, which means that we can move on to book number 2 for this video, which I need to figure out what magical readathon prompt we're going to be attempting for this one. So I've picked our next subject. We are going to be aiming for spells and incantations. The course focus for this is spell, quick count, and the prompt is a random number generator title length. So what I have to do for this is randomly generate a number of letters that has to be in the title. I'm pretty worried about this because with this being not the entirety of my library, there are going to be some numbers that I just don't have that amount of letters in the title. But I did a quick count. My longest title is How to Marry Keanu Reeves in 90 Days with 29 letters in the title. And then my shortest one is The Dry by Jane Harper that has 6 letters in the title. So these are going to be our perimeters. We're going to have 6 at the bottom, 29 at the top. If I'm being honest, I have more long titles than I have short. So I'd rather it hit the higher end of the scale than the lower. But I'm still a wee bit nervous about this. So my random number generator is here. Let's see what we get. 18. I feel like I'm gonna need a minute, but I think we can do this. I think that's 15, so a little bit longer than that. That one's 17, 15 again, 13. I'm getting shorter instead of longer. 17 for the Helm of Midnight. 14. Oh my god. I need more time to figure this out. This is gonna be fun because it's right down here. Ooh, that was close. For, was it 18? I hope it's 18 because that's what I've been counting. For 18 letters in the title, we have 2 options, which I'm just gonna double check them now to make sure. 18, yeah. So the first option is Violet Made of Thorns by Gina Chen, which is a YA contemporary from, I think, Fairy Loot. Not a YA fantasy from Fairy Loot, not contemporary. And then the second option is very different. It is a like sci-fi noir, I think, called The Imaginary Corpse from Tyler Hayes. So this one came in a Fairy Loot, obviously, and this one came when I worked with A Box of Stories a couple of years ago, where they're like a subscription that sends you 3 like lesser known books of a certain genre to essentially stop them going into landfill. They're like indie books that people don't really know too much about, or books that have been overstocked and like not sold very well. So this one truly sounds bizarre because I think that it's got like a mini like dinosaur in it. Tippy the Triceratops, which is a yellow toy detective, and it says he found a home in the underbelly of the imagination, a place called the Still Reel. He has to track down a mysterious figure that is making people disappear. It sounds very bizarre. And then this one is about a prophet to the royal court who the prince doesn't like very much, so he's planning on replacing her when he is crowned. And the king asks her to falsely prophesize a love story for the prince, and she ends up awakening a curse instead. And I think that we have some romance between the two of them. I honestly don't know which way to go. This one's so bizarre that I feel like I'm not gonna like it because it's a little bit too out there, and this one's so generic I feel like I might not like it. I don't have a preference. I'm equally ambivalent about both of them. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look up the average rating and I will pick the one with the highest rating, because I know that this one will definitely have a lot more than the Imaginary Corpse, but which one is most liked? Imaginary Corpse has a 4.02, only 689 ratings, but pretty highly rated. So I feel like that one is going to win. And Violet Made of Thorns has a 3.56, so very average. So with that in mind, we're gonna go for the Imaginary Corpse. I don't like things that are so wild that they're unbelievable, and I do feel like this is gonna fall into that category for me. That being said, I am going into it with an open mind. Maybe I'll end up loving it. Oh, it's actually shorter than I thought as well. I thought it was more like 400 pages, but it's under 300, which I feel like that looks way bigger. But I'm gonna make a dent in that a little bit later. I actually need to get some work done because I have not done that yet. And I also just got a call from the carpet place, like the shop that we got our carpet from. It was supposed to be fitted on the 3rd of May, but we asked them to let us know if anybody cancelled or had to reschedule, and somebody has, and we're getting our carpet fitted next Wednesday, which is great because then we can start moving back into it, or like we can order a bed, because I didn't want to order a bed to arrive when the carpet wasn't down. But that also means that I need to get a light fitting, which doesn't have to go up before the carpet, but it would be great if it did. And I definitely 100% need to paint the radiator this weekend before that happens. So wish me luck, because I'm gonna have to order some stuff tonight and figure all that out, which I've been putting off because of the mental like working out of it. But before that, I need to sort out some videos. So I've made a little bit of progress in the Imaginary Corpse now. I am 112 pages into it, so I'm over a third of the way through. And something that literally nobody expected, least of all me, is that I'm actually having a great time with this. When I introduced it to you guys, when I told you what it was about, I said that like maybe the eccentricity of it would be the thing that put me off this, forgetting completely that I don't like noir or mystery stories. So if anything, the plot of this, I feel, especially like when I started this and I saw how the fantasy element was constructed, the only thing that I was really worried about, or the main thing I was worried about from that point, was whether the plot would actually manage to hold my attention. And honestly, so far so good. To give you guys a little bit more of a fleshed out synopsis, this is set in a completely make-believe world, but this is essentially where ideas go to die. So all of the places in this world are like maybe a comic book that somebody was writing that never made it to print, so it was abandoned. It can be like the imaginary friend of a child that when they grow up they cut ties with the friend and they end up in the still reel. And we are following our guy Tippy, who is a stuffed triceratops and also a detective. The reason he's a detective is because his person made him to be one to help her kind of navigate some things that she wanted to investigate like in her childhood. And when something particularly traumatic happened to that child, her connection with Tippy was snapped and he ended up in the still reel. So he is still a detective because he was made to be a detective. One day he goes to help out this like nefarious farmer in one of the like idea places, and he finds this nightmare. So they're like your typical children's bogeyman, and this one is clearly like a very young nightmare. He's very scared and Tippy helps to rehabilitate him. That night when Tippy is trying to sleep, he hears somebody breaking into a nearby building and he finds the man in the, is it the man in the coat or the man in the hat? But essentially this person kills the bogeyman, who is called, he's called Spindleman, I think. And usually ideas can't die because literally they're ideas, like ideas can't die. They go to like a holding place for a little bit and then they pop back. But for some reason, Spindleman is actually dead and he is never to return. So from that moment on, Tippy is trying to investigate like who this person was, why they were after Spindleman. But the further that he gets into the case, the more he realizes that it's not just Spindleman who is a victim of the man in the coat. And this is a bigger thing entirely, especially as ideas are being actually murdered for good for the first time. I think that if this was a noir story, if this wasn't fantastical, it would be pretty boring. It has a lot of the ingredients of a noir, but what is keeping me hooked in this is the world and the writing. Straight from the beginning, I was like, okay, I can vibe with this writing. I thought that Tyler Hayes did a very good job of grounding us in the story because everything in this is conceptual, and I feel like straight from the off, he does a very good job of gradually introducing concepts and like explaining how they exist and why they exist in this world. Because in terms of fantasy, I tend to prefer fantasy that's high fantasy, but in like some kind of medieval version of our world. There are exceptions to that, of course, but that is like the most standard fantasy setting. This is everything in this is a concept, like literally nothing is real. And I really thought that that would throw me, but actually what Tyler Hayes has done is my favorite thing, in that he has explained it and built this world so strongly that it feels real. And I love how it kind of feels like a children's story, but it's an adult story. So we have like the town that Tippy lives in is called Playtown, which was obviously once it was an idea, and then it has like brightly colored buildings, like a children's TV show, and that is where all of these friends live. And a lot of them are not necessarily childlike, but related to children, because children are more likely to imagine friends. And the way that the friends work in this is that they are ideas that became a part of somebody and then were severed in some way. So like I said, they could have grown out of them, or something traumatic could have happened. So they became more than like a passing idea, but they were never actualized into reality. And this is the place that they go when they're no longer needed by their people. So like the back of this says Toy Story meets Sin City. I'm actually not familiar with Sin City, but I do know that it has that kind of like gritty noir vibe. This is 100% Toy Story. This could be a children's TV show, except for the fact that it does have like some like gore and swearing and things like that. But I just feel like everything in here is fully realized to make it three-dimensional and believable. So even though I didn't want to read this because I genuinely thought I was going to hate it, I think that I'm going to end up really, really loving this just because of how good the world building is and how well thought out like the characters are. So that's what I'm currently up to with this one. Very surprising. This one, obviously I'm only a third of the way through, but the way that I feel about this one right now, it could be a shelve. So I feel like it's all gonna hinge on the ending of this.
So make sure your weight is forward, right? Shoulders above the hooves. After every time you eat some from the bag, You don't want them to get stale. 3, 2, 1, flip it over.
Display, third meeting of the day. But I can hear raindrops that dancing on the roof. It's like they're calling out, don't lose your youth. 'Cause I can stay inside and step away inside. Oh, make
So I just got home from a warehouse sale in Leeds. It's the first one that I've ever been to, and it was for Travelling Man, which is my local comic book store. There is one, my closest one is in York, but there's also one in Leeds, Manchester and Newcastle, and I've been to all of them. I tend to buy the majority of my comics and manga from there if I can, but this warehouse sale is one that they have every year. They do like board games and TCG stuff, like Curtis I think got some game stuff, but they also do like comics, manga, fantasy books, that kind of thing, and there is like flat pricing on all of the books. So the manga was £4 per book, the softbacks were £5 each, and then the hardbacks were £8 each. So I have quite a haul for you guys, and I'm really happy with some of the things that I found. A couple of these have like minor damages, and the rest of them I guess were just kind of like overstocked or something. But the first thing, if you can hear crashing, Curtis is currently stripping the paint off the radiator in the bedroom, which is right above me, so sorry if you hear any of that. But the first thing that I picked up was Dreaming Some Volume 9 by Ichigo Takano, which is a series that I'm currently in the middle of. I'm on volume 5 was the last one that I read, so I have a little ways to go before I get to this, but I do struggle to get my hands on these volumes if I'm being honest. Like I said, tend to buy most of my comics in person from places like Travelling Man, and I almost never see this series in person, so I snatched this up for £4 as well, because usually I think it's about £10, so a very good deal. I also picked up volume 9, seems to have been quite popular, because I also picked up volume 9 in the Buffy reboot, which as y'all can see, this is what I mean when I say like minor damages. So it's not like a big deal, but they're not perfect. But this one is the Buffy reboot where they brought the story of the TV show and the characters into 2019 as opposed to the 90s. I think I'm currently around 4 volumes into this as well, so nowhere near volume 9, but for £5 instead of £10.99, which is full price, I thought I might as well get it. And then the new things that I picked up, I found volume 1 and volume 2 of Bitch Planet. This is one that I heard people talk about a few years ago, but I couldn't really remember whether people enjoyed it. So I looked it up on Goodreads, and Ali from Hardback Hoarder gave it 4.5 stars, which is all I need to know because Ali is like my go-to comic girl. This one is like a sci-fi take on a women's prison. I think the Goodreads synopsis says like if you jump outside of the box that the patriarchy tried to put you in, you're sent to Bitch Planet, where the inmates kind of have to decide whether they're going to band together to take down the patriarchy or whether they're going to fight amongst themselves. And then the final thing that I got is probably the one that I'm the most excited about, because I picked up volume 1, 2 and 3 of Moonstruck. This one is by the creator of Lumberjanes, which I haven't read, but this series actually seems a little bit more interesting to me, and it's following a barista who I think is a werewolf, but she's trying to live like a normal life, and it's like a cozy fantasy kind of story set in college with a sapphic relationship. So sadly I think that this comic is over now. I think there's only 3 volumes, which is good because I have them all, but I don't know whether the creators intended to end it after volume 3 or whether it kind of just fizzled out. So like I don't know how conclusive the end's gonna be, but I'm excited to give this a try regardless. I do have to say though, I have a goal, y'all know, to read more books than I haul this year, and I currently have not filmed my March unboxing. So I feel like with these 7 things that I picked up today, plus my unboxing when I film that, I'm really going to be pushing the limits of that, if not tipping over. So I think I need to prioritize actually continuing on with some comics, because I read Die, was it last week? And I have the rest on Kindle Unlimited, which doesn't help me with my physical TBR, but I also don't want to start too many series, so I should really wrap some stuff up and get through some stuff, because obviously like they don't take me very long as well. I do also realize the irony of me doing a massive comic haul like in the middle of Shelve It or Scrap It, especially when the place where I keep my comics is full, and that's the reason why we have Blackbird in the stacks. But I mean, if I'm being honest, I could go through there and haul some stuff that I've read and I didn't love as much in the later volumes as I did to start off with. But the way that I haul books actually is that I put them in another stack on the floor in front of my bookshelves. I used to put them away when I'd hauled them, but then because I have shelves all over my house now, I'd struggle to find everything when it came to hauling stuff. So now I just keep them all there, and then when I filmed a haul I put them all away, so I do have a little bit of time before I have to squeeze these into, I have them in like a book bag, do you know, one of the like TB, I'll show you, I'll get it. I always forget how heavy this is, but this is where I keep all of my comics. So I don't actually have the most, but if I'm being honest, like I could, and I probably will unhaul the Rat Queen series because volume 1 was great, and then I think after volume 4 or 5 it started really going downhill. But that is a problem for the future because I think it's going to be a month or so before I film like a regular haul anyway. Hello, I am deep in painting right now. Hopefully for the last day, if I had it my way, the last day of my life. I don't think that's going to be the case, but providing that I can get, and I know it's a big providing I can get 2 more coats or 2 actual coats of paint on the radiator today, I shouldn't have to paint anything in the bedroom again. Fingers crossed. That is the plan. But before I started this morning, I did wrap up The Imaginary Corpse by Tyler Hayes, and I actually really enjoyed this one, and I gave it 4 stars, which I literally did not foresee. If it got to the point where I was just unhauling books, say like I wanted to get all of these stacks on the shelves and I just needed to unhaul enough books for that to happen, this 100% would have been unhauled. So I'm so glad that this challenge gave me the opportunity to pick it up. This is why I don't like to rule a book out, because I had like a comment on a recent video saying like, oh, maybe you should read your 5-star predictions seeing as you're like struggling to get 5 stars at the minute. My 5-star predictions are actually less likely to be a 5-star than random books that I pick up, because I just generally don't have a good track record with 5-star predictions. And we also saw this recently where Pretty Little Liars came up on a spinner wheel that I was using, and I did not want to read that book, and I ended up giving that a 4-star and really loving it as well. So it turns out that I actually don't know myself well at all. The only downside of this, I would say, is that it is a detective story, and obviously that is such a big part of this, but I love a well thought out, well developed world that is built so intricately that it feels like it could logistically be a real place if make-believe places existed. And this book definitely provided that. I think the reason why I didn't mind the detective format of this, or the detective theme, is because the solving of this mystery also served as a tour of this world. And I think that there is so much mileage in this world for this to become a series. Now, I believe that this didn't do very well. I don't know if that's why it isn't a series or whether it was always intended to be a standalone. It ends at a point where like you could have another mystery with Tippy the Triceratops. I can't believe I love this book. Or it could realistically end here with the end of this story. But I feel like with this place being the still real, with it, the limit of this world is literally the limit of imagination. You could do so much in this world and like never really repeat locations or characters. And that is what I loved about this. So I loved that the solving of this mystery, the step-by-step finding of clues and interrogating people and going to new locations took us to so many places that were so drastically different from the places that we'd been, with their own sets of rules, their own architecture, their own aesthetic, their own characters that are very much in keeping with that place. And that is why I enjoyed this so much. The worst thing about this is that it was a detective story, and the fact that I loved it with it being a mystery, with it being a noir story, says so much about this book. Something else that I really liked about this is that while we're trying to get to the bottom of how to vanquish this bad guy, we're also trying to get to the bottom of how this bad guy exists. So remember, I said that this is the first thing that has ever been able to kill friends like for realsies where they don't come back. And while this in a lot of ways reads a little bit like a children's story, and I could very much see this being a children's TV show like at surface level, the reason why these things are happening is so much more sinister and added like a real edge to this story. And I also feel like something that I really enjoyed is the juxtaposition of like these bright, colorful, like playtime kind of areas and like dark, eerie, atmospheric locations, depending on what kind of friend or what reason these places were thought into existence. So I'm so surprised that I loved a book where the main character is a stuffed triceratops that is trying to catch a serial killer. But that means that we're going to be shelving this one, and that is going to be a problem. So I'm going to take you up to the shelves and we're going to see what we can figure out. I also have to try and match this. Hopefully, like, I don't have to, but considering I'm trying to get all of the magical readathon prompts, like, that's my stretch goal. I ideally would fit whatever book I read next to a magical readathon prompt, so we'll see. I'll take you up and we'll have a look at what's going on up there. So this is logistically a nightmare. My unhaul pile, I have 4 unhaul piles here. I really need to film a video and get stuff out of my house, but I have 4 unhaul piles, one of which has collapsed across the floor, and then behind me I have my unboxing that I'm going to be filming tomorrow that is coming up to like the top of my thigh, and next to that I have my pile of books to haul, which is about the same, both of which are in front of my shelf, so I can't get as close as I would like to, but The Imaginary Corpse by Tyler Hayes is going to be shelved amongst the H's. So this is G, so, and I've read that series and I liked it, the Rebel of the Sun series by Alwyn Hamilton. So realistically we need to be looking at this shelf, but I can rearrange. So we need to be picking a book from, see, the problem is this section, this middle section of my bookcase, I've actually read most of the stuff on it. So I've read everything apart from, apart from Caraval on this shelf. I haven't read Gone. Okay, I haven't, because I was looking before I actually got here, I was thinking realistically I want to read something between here and here. I could go a little bit lower, I could go up to here because I can move things around. So most of these books I have read a lot of. I've read Feed, I've read all of the John Green books, I've read a Rachel Griffin book, so I wouldn't unhaul another one. Assumedly I would like them both the same and I want to keep them. I haven't read these, but we're not getting into like high fantasy or epic fantasy right now. Along here I'm probably not going to haul any Robin Hobb. I've read these ones. Probably not going to unhaul Deborah Harkness. Grady Hendrix, it's a standalone, so there's potential, because realistically as well, we're looking at something that I'm not sure that I'm going to love, so that I can unhaul that and make room, because otherwise if I love everything I read, then we're just going to keep going and going and going, and this video is essentially never going to end. The point is to clear space. I then have The Vanished Birds, which I have been told it's likely I'm going to give it 5 stars. This one is potential. This is like a hard-hitting contemporary. I'm not going to haul this. Not sure how I'm going to feel about that. I think I like the concept, but I don't know whether I've missed the boat on The Next Together because it's like a YA series. I've read all the Queen of the Teal'c, read Wheel of Time, read the Caroline Kepnes books. So picking from those 3 shelves that I originally thought we were going to pick from could have been an issue. But now thinking about it, I have 2 books up here that are potentially gonna work really well. So we have Gone by Michael Grant and we have Caraval by Stephanie Garber. I do have a hardcover copy of this. This is an ARC that I picked up at a charity shop, and it's an ARC of Caraval. Of course I snapped it up, but I do have a hardcover copy as well, and essentially if I read it and don't like it, I would unhaul both. So this is difficult. I'll tell you what they're about first, I guess, and then we'll look at magical readathon prompts. So this one is about a carnival that comes into town and 2 sisters that get an invitation to it. I think it's invitation only. That's pretty much all I know about this. I know tons of people love this series. It's super, super popular, but I know that the writing includes synesthesia, which is essentially where you don't match up the description to the scent. So it could say like, the air smelled like yellow. Like that doesn't logically make sense. And I feel like that kind of writing I don't really gel with, which is why I'm concerned about Caraval. And then Gone by Michael Grant is a YA apocalyptic dystopian story. At this point, I don't remember what it's about. I know that it's super well loved, but I think that the boat has passed with this to me. Like, I think that this is going to be too YA for me to get into it at age 30. I picked this up when I was at uni. This and the first Beautiful Creatures book. This one doesn't, oops. This one doesn't have its sticker on anymore, but these 2 were the first 2 books I ever bought from Waterstones when I was at university. So like 10 years ago now. So that's why I've been so reluctant to unhaul this one without trying it, because I have like that memory attached to it. So I actually, looking at this cover, I feel like I know which one I'm going to end up going for, because there are still some super vague magical readathon prompts left. Wait, do either of these, let me look at the Caraval like actual cover. Which one do I have? Oh my god, which one do I have though? Is this the cover that I have? I actually don't even know where it is. Is it over there? Is it over there? Is it in the stack? I'm gonna go see if I can find the actual hardback of this, because I have no idea where I put it. Okay, it was literally in my line of sight right on the other side of the room. So this does not, it's one of the secret cover ones as well. It does not have what I wanted it to have, which is a lock or a key on the cover. So I can't use it for that prompt, which means there are still a couple of super vague ones down. Like I can write down 3 titles, fold them up and pick one. There's also prediction bingo, which is to make like a bingo board of things that you predict for the book. There's also a book that you think could cure slumps, which for me, neither of these qualify because I'd normally go for like a thriller or a romance or contemporary for that. So I think I just want to check one thing, but if this doesn't come through for me, then I know what I'm going for. So I was just checking to see if Stephanie Garber specifically, because I felt like that was more likely, had blurbed any of my recent 5-star reads, and alas she has not. But I actually had to go back to a 5-star that I read last summer to find a 5-star read that was blurbed by an author that I actually own any books by. I am not giving out 5 stars all that often anymore, guys. But with that in mind, because that didn't come to fruition, the prompt that I've decided to go for is animal studies, which is not one that I need to be a demonologist, but every year I try to complete my demonologist prompts first, and then once I have achieved, or if I achieve those, I then go for necromancer, because you only need 3 more to get necromancy, and animal studies is one of the ones that is required to be a necromancer. So the course focus this time is pebble ducks, and the prompt is to read a book with a yellow title. So I am going to be using Gone. It does work, I feel. I definitely feel like this fits the prompt. It is a little unconventional because it's the shading around the text that is yellow, but I mean, the title is yellow, the title is blue, you know, like you wouldn't say the title was black unless you were being hella pedantic. So let's have a look what this one is actually about. It says 299 hours, 54 minutes. Suddenly it's a world without adults. A normal life has crashed and burned. When life as you know it ends at 15, everything changes. A small town in Southern California, in the blink of an eye, everyone over the age of 15 disappears. Cut off from the outside world, those that are left are trapped, and there's no help on the way. Chaos rules the streets. Now a new world order is rising, and even scarier, some survivors have power. Mutant powers that no one has ever seen before. I'm a little bit concerned about this because I just feel like I've outgrown YA dystopian. We all know it was the thing back in like 2012, and I feel like vampires, which are now coming back and I still am done with, like I'm still not over them from the first time. Dystopian, I had my fill in 2012 to like 2016. And I feel like I'm not ready to revisit this kind of dystopian right now, but we will see how it goes. I've heard real good things about it, and potentially if we were to unhaul this, it would be great because we'd also get rid of Lies and Light, which are later books in the series that I picked up secondhand, and end up being able to shelve quite a few things out of the stack. So now that we've selected our book, we can get Caraval back on the shelf, and then this is assuming actually that I can move all of these up enough to be able to get the imaginary corpse on the shelf. I feel like I could have made a big mistake here. We'll see how it goes. Because the issue is that this is such a chunky book. Am I just gonna, oh my god, put your back into it, girl. Okay, it's fine. So that one will go in there. I think we have space for something else. One second. The Dry by Jane Harper. I'm sad that I'm taking this off the shelves actually, because I feel like I would be more likely to get to it quicker if it was down there. But I mean, it will fit perfectly right here with a bit of a wiggle.
When I was a little child, I naturally would see magic in the world around me. Now I often get so tired, it's harder just to be fascinated, breathing free.
Hey guys, it is 11 p.m. I've just got out of bed because I started this. I was feeling the same way that I was kind of feeling when I started reading Princess of Souls last month, and I was like, I just don't want to read it. I don't want to read it. But I persevered, you know, and I got to, how far in did I make it? 64 pages in, and you know what? I was kind of getting into it. I was not necessarily having a good time, but I was willing to kind of see where the story went, and also I was getting through it quite quickly. So I was like, I might as well just kind of get into it and see what happens. And then I got in bed and I opened it and I started the chapter and the dog started to die. So I ain't reading it. I knew because that dog is introduced in an earlier chapter, and I thought, damn, this is gonna be, like, I was concerned. As well as that, the book was giving me anxiety. Like, it's low-key kind of brutal. So I've been feeling a type of way about her. Seemed pretty interesting though, like the way that the characters spoke was annoying, but also everyone over the age of 15 kind of disappears in that book. So I think like a group of 14-year-olds generally and younger, they're pretty annoying. So I feel like it was realistic in that way. But for Magical Readathon, because of my guild rank, I can actually count one genuine DNF as a completion. Like I can actually count it towards the prompt, whereas usually you can't. I'm gonna see how I go throughout the month. If I make really good time and manage to read all 14 books for all 14 prompts, then I will just redo that prompt. If I struggle though, I will count it as fulfilled with gone. But we're gonna have to pick a new book. It's 11 books. Like literally I just wanted to read a couple of chapters before I went to sleep, but I'm not tired, so I need to read something. So we need to pick a new book. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the stacks. We're gonna do the random number generator. Oh wait, no, we have more stuff to do. These need to all come off my shelves because I'm not reading them. I just can't. Like I can't continue. I don't even care if you guys tell me the dog doesn't die. That girl is dying in the desert and her dog is now dying in the desert with her. I'm not doing it. So we're gonna go and we're gonna randomly generate a book, and I think unless it just happens to fit one of the other prompts, I'm gonna go for the prompt which is to make a prediction, like a prediction bingo for the book, and then I will come back to you guys in the morning because I want to go get in bed and tell you what that prediction bingo is. But let us see what I'm going to be reading next. No, let us take these off the shelf, shelve some books, and then see what I'm going to be reading next. So I'm just moving everything along. It seems like I've actually moved stuff around on this shelf before the last time I was refilling the stacks, because I have a lot of paperbacks there with authors whose names begin with H. But the ones that I'm going to try and get on are Seraphina and Tess of the Road by Rachel Hartman, which actually only ended up in the stacks when I was doing that bookshelf reorganization that I did at the end of episode 1. So we're getting them back on. So Harkness, Harper, Hartman. They fit here. I don't know if I'm gonna get both of these on. Oh my god, I am. Hey, now let's pick what I'm gonna read next. So we're now down to 54 books in the stacks. Like they are seriously dwindling, guys. We are doing the damn thing. I just need to pull up my random number generator and we will do 1 to 54. I'm getting nervous now, but let's see what we've got. 2. Book number 2, How to Marry Keanu Reeves in 90 Days by K.M. Jackson. So I am gonna have a look at a little look at the plot twist, because I have plot twists. What am I even saying? I'm gonna look at the prompts to see if this can fit for anything for Magical Readathon, because I have finished and started a new audiobook today, like outside of this challenge, and I was gonna use that for a book that can cure slumps because I picked up a thriller on audio, whereas that would also fit for that prompt. Lock or key on cover or title, no. Okay, I think I am gonna go for the prediction bingo prompt for this one. So that one is for the psionics, and you know what, no I'm not. I have a book already in for demonology. The course focus is pacts and contracts, and the prompt is to read a book that you didn't pay for. I have my Patreon pick for April already in for that prompt, which is it Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score? But that one can also fit for the prediction bingo. I could also put the thriller that I'm currently listening to in for this one, and this one in for a book that cures slumps. So those three essentially are all interchangeable. But because I don't want to do a prediction bingo right now, and that's not one of the ones that I need for my actual chosen calling, I'm gonna go for this for demonology because I want to be a demonologist, so obviously that's like a core part of my course. This one is about a girl who I think, right, this is off memory from when I hauled this book. It is a woman who is obsessed with Keanu Reeves, and she finds out that he's going to get married, so she tries to hunt him down to stop him from getting married, and she goes along with her best friend, I think, and I think it ends up being like a friends to lovers kind of relationship. I am super, like, I've just finished watching the Netflix adaptation of One Day, which is like my favorite book of all time, and I really love the movie as well. I think that the show is my least favorite iteration of that story, but because of that, like literally I only have Dexter Mayhew on the brain right now, and I want to do nothing but read romance, so I'm glad that this has come up for that reason. Realistically though, I feel like this is going to kind of go the same way as Luna Love, as being something that I kind of just feel okay about. I don't know why, I'm just getting that vibe, but at least I don't expect the dog to be dying in this one. I would be surprised if it did. I'd be devastated if it did actually, and that one would be yet another DNF. So Brie is sat here right next to the tripod looking right at me. You can see her nose dipping up every now and again because she has not had her morning cuddles yet, have you, baby? No, because I have gotten out of bed, got ready to go out because I have my hair appointment at 9. It's like 8:25 now, and I need to update you guys before I go out because I am also going to be DNFing How to Marry Keanu Reeves in 90 days. I made it 62, 68 pages into this one. 64. So I did all right. I guess, but I didn't really like the writing style going into it. Like, it was fine, but I mean, it was just fine. But then I just can't take a woman seriously that is so obsessed with Keanu Reeves and so out of touch with reality that the fact that he's getting married in 90 days has shook her entire world. And so she has to travel across the country to stop this wedding and try and convince him to marry her. Somebody who he has never met and who he doesn't know, who is essentially a crazed fan instead. So I just cannot suspend my disbelief that far. And I do know, based on the setup for this, like, she's an artist, some like really rich guy wants her to sell out, and even though she doesn't make a lot of money, she wants to retain the integrity of her art. And the reason why she's going on this road trip is essentially to run away from her actual problems and her life. But that, I still just don't, I can't. And I just don't care about Keanu Reeves all that much. Like, I'm sure he is a lovely guy, but I'm not attached to him like this lady is. So sadly, I will be DNFing How to Marry Keanu Reeves in 90 days. I'm not too mad about it, but I am sad that I'm doing this today because yesterday I filmed my unhaul. So now this is going to sit until the next one, when what I really want to do is get everything out of my house and get a clean slate. Like, my unhaul is out of control. I filmed the video so that now I can start to go through all of the books and like sell them, donate them, whatever it is I'm doing with them. But there's just so many. But now we need to pick another book for me to read, and once again the magical readathon prompts are all open. I can only count one DNF as a prompt, so I guess I have an option of which prompt I want to fulfill with that now, but it's in my best interest to kind of keep it open so that we have an option for the next book we pick up. So let's get a random number generator. We are down to 53 books. We are getting through this stack. So I don't want to put this on the floor because there is potential for Brie to drink it. Put that down! She's just stealing shoes now. So let me generate a few. Don't you dare. Told you. I don't really trust that. Let me put this down here. We are on 1 to 53. 42. So down in the paperbacks again, I think. What is it, Baba? Yes, when we've selected this book, then we will cuddle. Okay? Was it it was 42, right? I've lost the thing. I'm sure it was 42. Oh, it is. Oh my god, it is another book of the month romance. Right, let's go. So the generator has spoken. I am going to be reading Dating Dr. Dill by Nisha Sharma. I know that when I started this, I was in the mood for contemporary romance, but at this point, after a 2-star romance and then DNFing one, especially considering they're all book of the month, I would have liked a fantasy. Like, I feel like the biggest stack is the one that we hit the least. This one I also have not heard the best things about, and so we'll see how I feel about it. This one is about a woman whose father is selling her mother's house, like her mother has died, and she wants it. So he says that if she gets engaged within 4 months, he will gift her her mother's house, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. Like, if I go and find a random guy to marry in a very short time period of 4 months, you will allow me to have the house of my dead mother. Like, really? That's what we're doing here, daddy? Like, can we not? And then we are following this guy who's a doctor, and he has a TV show called The Dr. Dill Show. She ends up having a massive argument with him on it that goes viral, which stumps his plans of trying to build a community center because he needs cash to be able to do that. So yeah, I mean, it sounds good, and I thought it sounded good when I picked it up, but I have heard some pretty not great things since, just like about it not being enjoyable, and also about some interesting words that are used for body parts in here during the spicy scenes. So I need to go because I'm leaving in 10 minutes and I need to put some stuff in a bag and also finish my coffee. So I'm gonna do that. I'm getting my hair lightened again to get rid of all of this orange. Hopefully will come the same color as the rest of it after today. But yeah, I will let you know how this one goes, and fingers crossed it won't be another DNF. So I just wanted to show you guys how the radiator turned out. I'm really happy with the color coverage on it. On the first photo it was a little bit patchy, but it has come through pretty much perfect. So my plan now is to get the radiator on the wall, which it goes over there, We've never done this before, so we'll see what happens. We watch YouTube videos, and then I obviously need to clean everything up, ready for the carpet to be fitted tomorrow.
But I can hear raindrops that dancing on the roof. It's like they're calling out, don't lose your youth, 'cause I can stay inside and tap away inside, or make today just a little less mundane. Oh, I can stay inside.
I have run, I've done yoga, I've showered, I've got ready for the day, I've done a run around my house and tucked everything out of the way, ready for the carpet fitters come in around 90 minutes. I'm excited, but I'm scared, and if they even breathe near my walls, I will cry, because you know the journey I've been on with that paint up there. But I am about to do a little bit of editing. I'm struggling to get myself organized today because nothing that I need to do, nothing that I plan on doing today is urgent, and when things aren't urgent, I really struggle to actually like get in gear and do them, which is so frustrating because I would have so much free time if I could just knuckle down and get stuff done when they don't need to be done right now, as well as I can when they do need to be done right now. But what's happening over there? You guys probably saw it better than I did. I just noticed that there was flailing in the background, but she seems to have settled now. So I'm bringing you an update on dating Dr. Dill, and you will be happy to know that I am, at this point anyway, ow. At this point anyway, I am not DNFing this one. I'm actually enjoying it. So I'm 106 pages into it, and it is about a woman who is 30 and she finds out that her father's planning on retiring and moving to Florida. Her family set aside some money for her and her sister to spend on like big things that cost a lot of money, so they had the option of either using the money to pay for a wedding or to put a down payment down on a house. Now when she finds out that her father is retiring to Florida, she wants to buy the house because himself and her mother, who has passed away, built that house from the ground up, and it holds a lot of memories. But everybody in her family is like, well, you do not have the money. So she asks her father for the down payment money, and he says that she can't have it because she isn't engaged. So then she starts like dating, going on dating sites. She enlists the help of her aunties to try and find her a man to become engaged to in these 4 months. She ends up hooking up with a guy who happens to be Dr. Dill at a bar, and then the day after, her sister is doing, who's an influencer, he's doing an interview on Dr. Dill's show, which is like a show about heart health that is on like a Desi network. So he is set to open a community center for the South Asian community in New Jersey, and he's about to secure his investors when the day after they hook up, the main character Karina goes with her sister to this interview, sees that the guy is Dr. Dill, finds out that he doesn't believe in true love. He thinks that like love is just really bad for your health and like a complete farce. They have a massive argument while her sister is streaming it on her YouTube channel, and it ends up going viral. So then his investors pull out, and the only way that he then can secure the money for this community center is via his mother, who is so desperate for her son to be married, to provide grandchildren for her, that she tells him she will pay him if he gets married. So the two kind of reluctantly end up in this agreement to pretend to date, pretend to be engaged, so that Karina can secure the money for the house and so that Prem can secure the money for his community center. And I'm assuming that they fall in love throughout the course of this. I like the humor in here. I also like the South Asian community in here. I love the aunties, and I'm having a really good time with it. Now, I did go on Goodreads to add it to my currently reading yesterday, and I did happen to glance just a little glimmer of a review for this, because I did say that I'd heard there were some interesting names for body parts in this book. He calls his penis Charlie, so I had that to look forward to. But aside from that, I am really liking the chemistry between them. I love the fire, like the intensity with which they argue, and I'm also, like I said, really liking the South Asian representation, the community in here, as well as the humor and just generally the story. So a much better review or look on it so far than I've had with the last two books, which I sadly DNF'd. I have my nail appointment this afternoon. The carpet fitters are coming. I'm trying to get some stuff done, like a handful of small tasks to fit around all of the other stuff that's going on today. But because I've already done my workout, and Curtis normally plays cards on like Yu-Gi-Oh on Wednesdays, I think I'm gonna have the whole evening to myself. And I have, I'll tell you what I have. This is getting out of hand. I have 271 videos in my watch later on YouTube. When was this published? 8 months ago. I'm watching a Summerween vlog from Olivia from 8 months ago. So I think I'm gonna do what I typically do on Sundays when I have free Sundays and I'm not renovating, which is read 50 pages and watch a YouTube video and alternate between the two for the entire evening. So I might actually make quite a bit of a dent in this today. And then if I don't, I am hosting reading sprints tomorrow for my patrons like throughout the day. So I should get a chunk read then. Oh my god. Y'all ready? There's laundry everywhere. Curtis is doing a lot of laundry today because the baskets were overflowing. But we have dun 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 brand new, gorgeous, stunning carpet. I put my rug down. It's the only thing currently in this room. The plan is to get a massive mirror to go here, and we will hide the like internet stuff behind the mirror. We'll get like a wall leaner. Look, we're almost done. The light fitting is coming no, it's not coming this week. I'm pretty sure it's coming next week. So then we'll get that up, which I'm a little bit worried about, but we'll figure it out. The radiator looking stunning. I was a little bit worried about the choice of carpet because I didn't want to get a grey because I thought that it would make the room look really cold, but we're going for a like rich velvety jewel tone kind of theme in here with a neutral base. So I thought that the grey would make it look like you should have like silvers and like really stark colors in here, which I didn't want. So we went for a beige, but then I was worried that the warmth of a beige would look weird against the coolness of the gloss and the black, but I think we made a really good choice. I'm so happy. I'm like really proud of this room. Ignore these. These were left up. They were already covering my closet, but I left them up to protect my closet from all of the like paint and plaster and stuff as the work was being done. I am gonna get a new door curtain for that, but she looks so good. Everything just looks amazing. So I'm gonna do some filming in here when it's done because it's obviously gonna be the nicest room in the house. I think I kind of want, I don't know if it'll fit. I feel like I'm gonna have to climb around it to get to my closet, but I do want to get like a big velvet armchair in here and I can drag it out in front of the window and film in here potentially, but we'll see what happens. I am almost done in terms of reading what we're here to talk about. I'm almost done with Daisy and Dr. Dill. I love it. Like not even Charlie is putting me off this, okay? And I do have to say it is kind of minimal. It is weird because normally you would get something like that in a book that's afraid to say penis or cock or something, but it's actually also saying those words, but Charlie as well. So it's not as present as I thought it was going to be because we do have alternate words as well as just Charlie. The smut is really good. You all know I talked about it, I think it was in last week's vlog, about why I haven't been reading as much romance recently as I was like in the last few years. So for me to say the smut's really good means that it's real good. Like I said earlier, I love the chemistry between the characters. So it's looking like this is going to be a shelve, but I'm not too worried about it, and you'll find out why like when I actually get to the end of the book. But yeah, that's where I'm currently up to with reading, and I'm definitely going to finish it at some point today. Probably this evening though, because I originally intended to do Patreon sprints for the majority of the day, kicking off at midday. I'm wearing my Space Cat leggings pretty much for the occasion, but Curtis said that he doesn't have too much that he needs to do today. So he asked if I wanted to go look at beds. So that's what we're going to do instead. I will do Patreon because I essentially don't have too much left of what I need to do this week. I can just move my sprints to tomorrow afternoon instead, and that's what I'm gonna do. I'm excited but scared to look at beds. I've never bought a bed before in my life. The bed we're currently using is the one that like my parents bought for me that we moved just into this house when we moved. So we've been sleeping on that bed for about 7-8 years now. We are upgrading to a king size, and we obviously want an amazing mattress because realistically we spend 1/3 of our lives asleep, and I potentially spend even more than that because I love sleep. I love my bed, I love sleep. So I'm looking for a really good mattress, but I have no idea what kind of bed frame I want. So we're gonna go to Benson's for beds and Dreams, which I think are both on a industrial estate by the docks in Hull. It's where like the big B&Q that we always go to is. And I know they have like, it's pretty much all like furniture, carpet, like DIY kind of shops down there. Not convinced on not necessarily planning to buy a bed today or necessarily from either of those places, but because I've never bought a bed before and I don't really know what kind of frame I want. I'm not sure if I want a black like wooden frame because I don't know if that will be too plain, but then I'm planning on like having vibrant like dual toned bed sheets, so I don't know if I get like a velvet bed. The bedding will be limited because we don't want it to clash with the headboard. So we're just gonna go see. We're gonna go see what our kind of options are, have a look, kind of see what we might enjoy, and then carry that forward to when we get to the buying process. Which, I mean, if we order soon, depending obviously where we order from, we could have a bed like in here within the next 2 weeks and be transferring over. I need a set of drawers because mine are literally like, one of the drawers is out of my set of drawers now. All of the bottoms are collapsing because I have too many clothes. So I need a new set of drawers, and then my big mirror, and that is pretty much it for what we need for this room. Anything else will then be extra. So we're nearly there, guys. We're so close. So I originally anticipated finishing my book last night, but we were out way longer than I anticipated. We have got a bed, but we got into town at like 1:30, and on that place that I said that we were going, there are 6 different bed places. And I only thought that there were 2. It turns out that we found another one, and then there was also 3 other shops that also sold beds. So we went into every single one, and then we finally ended up buying a bed from Furniture Village. So the estimated delivery time on that is 3 to 5 weeks. I have my fingers crossed for 3. That would be ideal. But yeah, I bought a bed. I am also going to be ordering my mirror tonight, which means the only thing that I actually need to buy now is a set of drawers. So that's very exciting. It seems like next month I'm going to be like fully done with my bedroom, and I'm super hyped for that. But we were out until, I think we got home at like 6:30. Then we had dinner, I did a workout, and then I pretty much went straight to bed because by that point it was like 9:40, I think. So I finished my book this morning instead, and I loved this. There are a couple of things that I didn't know about it going in. The first is that this is the first book in a series called If Shakespeare Was an Auntie, and then also because the series is called that, I was like, hang on, wait a minute. And then I found out that this is actually a retelling of The Taming of the Shrew, which, if y'all don't know, the movie 10 Things I Hate About You is also a retelling of The Taming of the Shrew, and also happens to be one of my favorite movies. So it seems like everything was aligned for me to love this after all, and love it I did. I don't really have anything to add based on what I've said, but I love the chemistry between them. I loved the humor, the atmosphere, the culture represented in here. It's not something like South Asian culture, I feel, is not something, it is definitely out there, like it is definitely represented in fiction, but it is not super common and like super at the forefront. And I, particularly being half South Asian myself, really enjoyed seeing that. I definitely want to continue on with this series as well. I didn't love it quite as much as I loved the Brown Sisters series by Talia Hibbert, but I would say that this series is in kind of a similar vein. We are following, in terms of the main characters of all 3 of them, it is Karina, who's in this book, and her 2 best friends, and Prem, who's in this book, and his 2 best friends are the main characters and like the love interests of the entire trilogy. So I'm definitely going to be looking into continuing on with this at some point. Sadly, it's not on KU, so I will have to pick up the copy somewhere else. I'll check my library, but I didn't know that this was a series, and my library is not like the best library with the best selection out there. So a sequel to this is something that I don't necessarily think that they're gonna have, but I will check. And yeah, this wasn't the like one of my favorite romances of all time, but I gave it a high 4-star and had a really good time, which means that we're going to be shelving this one. And as I mentioned yesterday, I'm actually not too worried about that. Usually I would be, but if y'all remember, if you've been paying attention, I did say that I have been listening to a thriller audiobook, and when I read thrillers I unhaul them, and I know like I think I have like 2 hours left of the audio, but I know based on how this story is going, it's definitely going to be one that I unhaul after I finish reading it. And it is a book of the month thriller, which means that I have an empty slot upstairs, so I can rearrange something to get these on the shelf. Now we are going to go up and have a look, because I typically try to have my romance in a different location to the rest of my books, just as like a themed set of shelves, but I don't have a lot of space for hardbacks on those shelves, so I don't think I'm going to get it into there. But if not, because of me reading that thriller, I have some wiggle room to get it somewhere else. So here we have the romance shelves. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen them before, but there's literally no way I can get like a decent angle on them. But up here is, ooh, this is going very well. This is where my hardbacks would normally go. As you can see, we are full, and there is nowhere that I can move, like rearrange anything on here. And aside from Iron Flame, I've actually read and a couple of the Ali Hazelwoods, but they all have to stay together. I've read everything as well, so it's not like I can kind of split anything up there. But I do have if y'all can see. Here, I have unhauled the entire Savage Land series by Stacey Marie Brown, so we currently have an empty slot. So the only way that I'm gonna get Dating Dr. Dill on here would be to fill this potentially with the Ali Hazelwoods, which I'm not convinced are gonna fit, but I do have 2 paperbacks here as well. So let's see if I can. These are supposed to be in alphabetical order, but realistically, these little caddies that I have are actually not all the same size. So you can only fit like on these ones, you can't fit taller paperbacks, which tend to be indies. So like this one, this Colleen Hoover one. Oh no, it will. Maybe that's not the tallest one I have. Yeah, see, so like that wouldn't fit on there, which means that they can't go in perfect alphabetical order because like sometimes the size restricts them. But like here, this makes no sense because I have Colleen Hoover here, but Ali Hazelwood here. I'm actually like baffled. I know that I've done it obviously because of the size of the books, but that one is actually blowing my mind. Now that I've entered this, can I actually alphabetize these in a way that makes sense? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. See, no, I can't. I truly can't. I could move, but that would mean splitting up the Hoover. See, this is the issue with all of these shelves. I would like to get 2 Ali Hazelwood ones next to each other, but I would want to do that. It just ain't happening. I could maybe, if I move all of these, that's the Hoovers. I could have the Hazelwoods like above one another. I'm really nervous about lifting things off here. Are they even gonna fit? They're not gonna fit. Oh wait, no they are. It's fine. I have ordered the new Ali Hazelwood as well in these covers that match and I'm so excited. Oh my god, is this gonna work? Ooh, what if I put Sloth to Love You that doesn't fit? I hate that like, the only way I could do this is if I put the Love Hypothesis here, move checkmate. Why isn't this foiled? That's rude. Will this fit? Oh, we did it, which means look how much space we've gained up here for hardback. So I'm actually gonna go grab a bunch of romance hardbacks for that. So I essentially brought all of the like full-size romance hardbacks up. I'm not gonna fit all of them on, so we'll start with getting Dating Dr. Dill up there, which will go, oh, I need to move these up now. That one will still go there because it's short. And you guys, you can't see anymore, can you? Can I get you like a better angle maybe? Oh, here we go. Not awful. I mean, it is, but what can we do? So Rebecca Yarros all the way over. Oh my god. I feel like I need a little step stool to do this properly. So Dating Dr. Dill will go in that one. These also go up here. I do have in my stack, I have one Colleen Hoover book, which I feel should go with these. And it will go right at the beginning. Let me just get my bookend back on to hold everything in place there. So the rest of the ones that I've got doesn't really matter what goes up. Like there's no rhyme or reason to why I would shelve any over the others. So we'll just start at the beginning with Love and Other Disasters, which will go in there. The Reunion by Kayla Olsen also go in there. And I can maybe fit one more. And it looks like it has to be a thin one, so we'll go with The Spells Love by Kate Robb, who will also QRS. Oh, we're pushing it with this one. There we go. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4 more books shelved, and The Undertaking of Heart and Mercy and Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez will be going back into the stacks because I couldn't get them up here. This is so funny because I've literally just done all of that and then taken everything back off the shelves so I can now wrap up this episode for you guys. But this has truly been a record-breaking episode of Shelve It or Scrap It. I mean, saying that, it is only episode 3 and actually we are down to 48 books in the stacks after this episode, and I truly feel like they are dwindling. Like I thought that this was going to be hard, not that it is hard because I still have over half of what I started with down there, but I feel like because I put my mind to it, because we're doing this challenge, I'm actually getting through them and I'm seeing real progress. I really thought that this would be fighting an uphill battle where I managed to shelve 1 and then I add 4 and I read 2 and then I add 3 and the shelves, the stacks would end up growing instead of going down with time. But we're doing the damn thing, guys. We're doing real well. So in terms of what we have accomplished in this episode, I have read 3 books from the stacks in total, 2 of which I have decided to shelve and 1 which I decided to scrap. On top of that, 2 other books were attempted in this video. 1 was from the stacks and I decided to DNF. quite early on at around the page 60 mark, and Gone by Michael Grant was one that we pulled from the shelves. So both of these are going to be hitting my scrap pile. So in total, in conclusion, in this episode we have managed to scrap 5 books, 2 of which came from the stacks, 3 of which came from the shelves. And because of the knock-on effect of this challenge, we have shelved 11 books total. Even though we only read 2 from the stacks to be shelved, because of the unhauling, because of just the general process of reading and unhauling, we managed to find 11 books from the stacks, brand new homes on my shelves. So I would say that this is a very successful episode overall, a very contemporary romance heavy episode. It's weird how we seem to be having like themes throughout these videos when the selection process is almost completely random. But I do hope that you guys are still continuing to enjoy this challenge. I hope that you have enjoyed this vlog, this episode, if you've made it this far. Next week on my channel you can expect me to be getting back to regular weekly reading vlogs to tackle the rest of my magical readathon prompts. And if you are keeping your eyes peeled for the next episode, episode 4 of Shelve It or Scrap It, you can anticipate that to hit a little bit later in the month, in May, because it's my birthday at the beginning of May. So for the first like 2 weeks of the month I'm going to be like busy doing stuff. I have plans. So to be able to do this in like a concentrated and efficient manner, I'm going to be doing the challenge more in the middle of the month instead of at the beginning, as I have been doing. So in the comments, if you guys want to show me that you were here but you don't have much to say, leave me a dinosaur emoji down there for Tippy the Triceratops. But aside from that, guys, I do hope you've enjoyed this vlog if you've made it this far. If you have, please don't forget to like if you liked it and subscribe if you wanna, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye!
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you will go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.